You can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.
And then I realized that Interview was debuting right immediately after it. And I was like, I was like, oh man, I can't stay up. So I waited till the next night, and that was last night, and I watched it, and I am blown away by
how you texted me and said you loved it. So
yeah, it's one of the strongest pilots I've seen in a long time. But remember how I was talking about how they never say the F-bomb on The Walking Dead, but that I was hearing it on some other show, and it was kind of shocking me. I can't remember what the show was.
Mm-hmm.
They not only say the F-bomb, there is like a brothel that's part of the plot. So there's all kinds of like sex and sex talk going on. There is nudity. They use the N-bomb. They use the F-bomb. I'm like, holy shit. I have never seen anything like this on television. It looks like something you would see either in a movie or on HBO.
Wow.
Yeah. I was blown away. And the nudity is predominant. I mean, there is female nudity, but the nudity is predominantly male nudity, and it's male on male nudity. I mean, not like frontal, but like obviously two men together and naked. I'm like, I've never seen that on TV before either.
Obviously two men together and naked.
But the plot points that you're worried about, I don't know about Claudia, but the point about Louis is it's not a big deal, because they have reset the story in time. It's about, I think, wasn't the original in like the 1900s?
Oh yeah, it was like 1860 was the beginning of it, because it was 1870 because it was right after the war.
Right. No, wait, was it? Maybe it was 1780. Let me hang on. When is Interview with the Vampire set? It's in 1791. So it's in the 18th century. Yep. This is, I was thinking I was thinking it was only 50 years ahead. It's 150 years ahead, because now it's set in 1910. And Louis is a prominent African-American businessman in New Orleans. But the other businessmen treat him like shit, and Lestat does not like it. But the whole thing plays into it. The whole fact that he is black plays into it, and it is so well done and so faithful to the feel of the original novel. I don't mind it at all.
Okay.
I mean, it's still basically, Stock comes to town, starts spying on him and all that stuff. Oh, and the reason that Daniel is so old is because Louis did go to him when he was a kid and got pissed at him because he was immature and not conducting the interview the way he seemed appropriate. So he comes back to him when he finds out he's dying from Parkinson's disease.
Okay.
And they do it in Louis' like high-rise apartment. And he's like, how can you be out in the daytime? And he's got these windows that basically block out the sun. You can see it, but it's like blocked out all the ultraviolet or whatever.
Right.
So at night, he'll open all those windows and they'll go out on the deck, or the, what do you call it? Balcony. I'm telling you, it screams Anne Rice, especially some of the modern stuff when they go into the modern setting, because she, embraced that stuff. It was just, 40 years ago in the 80s or 90s.
Right. Yeah.
And the first commercial break had a commercial for the witches. And I was like, wow, it said early 2023. I figured we wouldn't be getting it till next October.
Well, they might be backing it right beside it because they lose Walking Dead. So if they can get this new franchise going,
Well,
they'll be happy.
They've got 3 more Walking Deads coming, though.
Yeah.
But the
you
thing
never know
is,
you never know what the spinoffs are going to do, though.
I don't know if it's got anything to do with Chris Hardwick and these conventions and fandom. You know, he's like a big Den of Geek type person. I think, I mean, I don't know if he has the influence or someone else up high does. I think they're like embracing the whole concept of universes. And they are like wholeheartedly diving into not only The Walking Dead, which they already had. I think they're trying to create a universe for Anne Rice.
Oh, that would be good. I mean, she basically did. So it would just be bringing her works to life. Because, right. I mean.
And I think they work better as longer adaptations, similar to Stephen King.
Yeah.
Because you can't really capture it in a movie.
Right.
But we'll see. I'm not sure where it's going to end, but I loved the pilot. The pilot was well done. And like, I mean, as far as a beginning, middle, and end. Another thing they do on Interview is they talk about butt sex, but it's not with 2 men. It's a prostitute complaining about a customer. And I was like, are y'all really talking about this on television? She's like saying, check his dick. You'll see. And someone comes into the room and goes, God, what's that smell? I was shocked.
Okay, then.
I know. So I'm like, they're not afraid to go wherever.
Yeah, it seems the subtle homoerotica is now gone. There is
no.
Subtle.
It's almost like they're trying to make the more hetero prostitute, I guess, business a little seedier than the actual relationship between him and, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like they're using that to throw off people that may be offended by a gay relationship is what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Oh, well, that could be. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
don't look over here. Look over here instead.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Squirrel.
Squirrel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Count us in. 3, 2,
1.
I've watched both House of the Dragon and Rings of Power up to current. So Rings of Power is about to go into the season finale. And I think House of the Dragon has like 3 episodes left.
Okay. House of the Dragon is Game of Thrones.
A prequel to Game of Thrones, yes.
And the other's the Lord of the Rings thing?
And it's a prequel to Lord of the Rings. It's basically 1,000 years before the Lord of the Rings.
Am I treading on your genre week topic?
With either of those?
Yeah.
Genre week? No.
Okay.
No.
Well, then how are they?
They're both really good. Lord of the Rings takes a while to start, like maybe the 3rd episode, but it's gorgeously produced. I mean, I think it's the most expensive series in history, Lord of the Rings. I mean, each episode is like $12 million.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's great. Lots of CGI, lots of, great costuming and stuff, but it takes a while to get started. I really like it, but I know a lot of Tolkien history, so it helps. And so I think the more you know, the more it helps. Like suddenly they'll say this little boy or whatever, and his name is Isildur. And he just barely has a little thing in the plot or whatever, but you're suddenly going, oh my God, that's Isildur. That's who kills Sauron. That's really the kid who killed. I mean, he's going to grow up and be a big warrior kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But it basically follows the story of Galadriel, which is pretty cool. And good casting. You see a lot of stuff that if you're a Tolkien lorist or know Tolkien, it's really cool. Mm-hmm. If you're not, it still works and tells a pretty cool Lord of the Ringsy type story with orcs and wizards and dwarves and elves and all that.
Well, you had a problem with the diversity of the elves last time I talked to you, or the
I didn't have a problem. There was a problem. I mean, it was a huge internet deal.
Because I don't have a problem with that either.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think they've done a remarkable job. I mean, one of the lead elves is African American. He's black, you know, and he's great.
I'm telling you, it's the same with Interview with the Vampire. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and I don't see anything wrong with it. I think they did a good job, but there were a lot of Tolkien purists who were going off because what he was saying was this was Europe. Europe had no African Americans. It had no Latinos. It had no da-da-da-da-da.
And that. They're actors.
Yeah. And they're brilliant. So.
Now, Interview with the Vampire had to change the story setting. Not setting, but time.
The time.
And so it is after the Civil War, but it is still in the South, and it's in the early 20th century. It's in 1910. And I'm telling you, I've only seen 2 episodes, and I'm blown away. I'm. Have you watched it yet?
I'm not. I don't want to get into it until at least I finish one of these. So tomorrow night is the season finale of Rings of Power. Okay. So once it's over, I can switch to either Midnight Club,
which I want to do too. Yeah.
And because it's getting great reviews so far.
You sent me something about it having a record number of jump scares or something.
Yeah, it set a number of jump scares for Netflix. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the other one you mentioned is Reboot, right? I've got to watch that. Too.
Reboot is hilarious. Okay. Reboot. It's not quite as good as Sex Education, but it's because it's a different kind of show. It's like watching a really R-rated version of Modern Family, but it's set in the movie business. So it's always on set with writers and directors and, executives and shit. It's pretty damn funny.
Okay.
I think you'll like it.
I bet I will.
And it's only 8 episodes. I think 6 or 7 are already out. So it airs weekly, like Murders in the Building, same network.
Okay.
Hulu. But Interview, I mean, I almost want to see it more than I do the new Walking Dead. And the new Walking Dead is great too. But I just think Interview has got so much potential. And they're already saying, this is one of the best franchises to ever debut on television and stuff. I'm like, wow. And remember how I told you they plant little Easter eggs with like Daniel's walking around Louis' apartment or whatever it is and is like admiring a painting, and it's this painting of the saint with this like little devil crawling on him and this light behind him. And he goes, I like this. He said, it's Marius de Romanov. And I'm like, wow, they are really deep diving with the Easter eggs and stuff and planning stuff in there.
And they're pairing it with witches, right? Because I've seen a bunch of little trailers for witches.
Well, there's been a little trailer and there's been a big trailer. And the big trailer, I was like, I don't know anybody in this. And then I got to thinking about it and I was like, well, I don't know anybody in Interview. So I guess that doesn't matter. However, Harry Hamlin's in it. I'm like, what the fuck is Harry Hamlin doing in it?
Okay.
But it premieres January 3rd, I think. They already have a date. I was shocked. So
well, and I probably need to get either is Reboot like a continuing series or is it a limited series thing? Is it like the rest of
I'm
them?
Sure they'll renew it probably for another season. But
is the whole season out right now?
It will be in like another week.
Okay. Because I've got to decide because the 23rd Peripheral comes on, which is the new.
I thought it was already on.
No, it starts on the 21st or the 22nd.
Okay.
And it's going to be, that's the new one from Joy and Nolan.
That's right. I saw a commercial for it the other day and I thought, ooh.
And it's Morantz, what's her name?
Chloe Grace
Morantz, yeah. The one she's the separated birth of Florence Pugh to me. So, I mean, they're both like so similar. Okay.
But yeah, there's so much shit out there. I'm like having a hard time. It's like I need to watch a Shudder movie, but I would much rather watch Mr. Harrigan's Phone.
Yeah, Mr. Harrigan's Phone is on my list too, and they they're really pushing that, Trick or Treat 2 is coming, kind of thing, in
Right.
active development, blah, blah, blah.
And Hellraiser.
It's getting good reviews.
I've seen it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And
I really like it. I like what they've done with it. They've broadened the story. I have some quirks that I don't like. Like, I don't like the voice augmentation they did on Jamie Clayton, because Doug Bradley had that great voice as Pinhead, and a lot of that was him. That was not a trick.
Well, he has that lower register.
Yeah, hers is augmented, and I couldn't get my subtitles to work, and I could barely understand her.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it's just weird. Who cares if it's a female voice, sounding voice, what have you? I don't care. Let her do her thing.
It actually might help if it was, because the only negatives I've really seen about it are, like, one guy posted, "Where's my kink? I watch Hellraiser because of the kink. There's not enough kink in this." And then another guy said, they've lost the sexuality of Hellraiser. And I went, really? So I'm curious to watch it.
Well, you know what? There isn't a lot in it now that I think about it. I mean, there's a scene with the brother in bed with his boyfriend, but it's not a sex scene.
Somebody said they've traded the sex for drug addiction. And I went, oh, okay. Well, no, because the sex was the whole Hellraiser gag, is she was horny.
I read that too, and there's not a lot about drug addiction in there. The lead character is a recovering addict, and at one point takes a couple of pills, and that's it. I mean, they don't really go into a lot of drug use that I recall. Same
as Evil Dead. She's recovering and she's questioning, is she again? Yeah.
But I really love what they do with some of the effects and the story. They really broaden the story, but you can tell where they kind of had to manipulate it a little so they had more victims. It's like, oh, okay, we're all going to go to the house now or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, because some of you are going to die,
right?
Or whatever, right. And also, you don't die unless you fucked with the box. So all of them have to have at least touch that box or done something with it at one point. But that's just the rules to the story, kind of. Right. And they changed that up a little bit. I think you'll like it. It's not bad. I would definitely say it's the next best Hellraiser out there for sure.
Well, that's what most of the reviews I read say. It's the best Hellraiser other than the original.
Yeah.
And one guy even made a big joke. So that's out of like 25 sequels.
Yeah, at least 10. And I will say the only thing really that we had a problem with in the original was more some of the effects. And the effects in this are really good.
Okay.
Because I mean, remember it had that stupid thing where Clive Barker turned into the dragon thing at the end, or that thing that's like on wheels rolling down the closet.
Yeah.
They don't have any of that.
Good.
But what I really like is, how they would do the lighting going up the slats or showing a wall separator. There's a lot of that in this. And that's what I love, because it can happen anywhere. I mean, it like even happens when they're in a van driving. All of a sudden they look and like the end of the van's all the way down, like about a half mile down the road. The van, it's that long.
That's great.
Crazy stuff like that.
Well, that dimensional stuff,
reality.
That would be great. Yeah.
Okay. I love that shit. So yeah, I highly recommend it. It's worth watching for sure.
So 3, 2,
1. So I was up late last night watching my genre week topic, and when it was over, it's like, I don't know, 11:45. I was like, well, time to go to bed. And then I noticed a new episode had dropped of 101 Scariest Horror Movie Moments. So I had to stay up another hour and watch that. I'm 6 episodes in. That show is amazing. It is like watching 10 hours of Terror in the Aisles.
Okay.
And last night, I mean, you would approve. I mean, Mike Flanagan actually started talking about Lake Mungo, which kind of disappointed me because I wasn't a big fan of that found footage movie. And he said, he was like, this inspired The Haunting of Hill House. And I was like, really? And then all of a sudden, the next thing up was Haunting of Hill House. And then I saw it, and I saw exactly what he was talking about and how he had gotten the idea from that short. Actually, it's not short. It's just an indie film. But then they would do like, and the way it's edited, it's just really well done. Like they did Blair Witch Project, and they immediately went into Paranormal Activity, saying, you know, without Blair Witch Project, you wouldn't have Paranormal Activity. And then they did Wait Until Dark, and they went into Don't Breathe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the people that do this show know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah,
I was
that's
like,
pretty good.
The way they pair them, they don't even pair them. It's like they count down, you know, 29, 28, 27, but they have them close to each other. So it's kind of a theme.
That's really interesting.
It is.
I'll have to give it a go. As they say.
And I'm also shocked because it's movie moments, and yet they had an episode of David Lynch's Twin Peaks, and now they've had The Haunting of Hill House, which is a miniseries. True. So they're not playing by the rules, kind of like we did that first season as well.
Yeah. And maybe either do a third Star Trek just so we have in the can, or do the next movie. What's next?
Devil's Candy.
Devil's Candy.
Oh, I hope it's as good as I remember.
Well, what works is too that so matter of fact way you did it. You're like looking down here and you go, Devil's Candy. It's like, we're doing Devil's Candy. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, God damn it. We're going back into Devil Land.
Oh, I did want to tell you that they I guess because I haven't noticed it before, maybe because they don't, but obviously they censored our thing on 30 and Nerdy because it beeps out every time we say Ash is a goddamn robot.
Are you serious? Are they like really religious or something?
No, I just think Josh is a high school teacher and a lot of his students listen to the podcast. So I think he just, has to be a more proper way of doing his podcast or whatever. Even though I just saw they dropped the trailer. I
say the F-bomb in there once too, I think. Yeah.
Well, they just dropped a trailer for their new episode, and it's got like this huge cosplayer who's like a demon who, has all the sexy OnlyFans pages and all this. And I'm like, okay, I don't think that works with the language censoring. I'm just saying.
I mean, all of our podcasts are explicit, and so are YouTube. So we're not getting anybody under 18, I'm assuming.
Well, hopefully not. We don't need.
I mean, I wouldn't. Series. A lot of people go for that though. They don't want to miss any chance of getting views or what have you.
Oh yeah,
and I understand that, but I can't censor myself. I can't. So fuck them.
Again, it was just such a deadpan. I can't censor myself.
No,
not gonna happen.
No.
So anyway, all right.
Expletives fly out of my mouth like butterflies on a spring day.
3, 2,
1.
Are those new glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like them?
They look good on you. They look good on you. Little tortoise shells. What does it say? It says E.
Elton.
Oh my God. There you go.
They're tortoise shell, but they're like a blue and gray tortoise shell instead of traditional. They're cool.
Well, that's cool.
I just had a compliment at the doctor's office. Some woman said, "You have the coolest glasses I've ever seen." I was like, "Thanks."
She said, "Look, there are none more gay than these.
That's it. These are gay glasses.
These are gay.
Here, put them on and you'll be gay."
Try it. You'll like it.
You'll be a very large poofter, and you'll be able to play piano too. I've watched at least 5 episodes now of Midnight Club.
Mm-hmm.
I like it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really, really creative. The way almost halfway through every episode, it's them telling a story and how that story is cast by other people that are, it's double cast with other members of the cast that are already in the real story. and how it always portrays. I mean, it always pertains to something that character is going through as well.
Yep.
So it's like seeing inside a writer's mind.
I love the fact that he kind of said, I mean, I could imagine the writer's room where he's like going, okay, so this is the typical story we're telling, but who does this affect in the club? This story, who does it affect? And then how can it affect them? And then, okay, so we'll cast them in that part and we'll cast this other person. I love the fact that they cast from internal. That was probably a gimme from the beginning. Mm-hmm. He said, not only are you going to be in the Midnight Club, you're going to be in everybody else's stories.
Right.
Which is smart.
It's very smart. And I mean, writers tend to visualize people in the roles they write. Mm-hmm. So it would make sense that they would visualize somebody that they see more often.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's not necessarily the case, but it works. Yeah.
And I love the kid she meets first, the younger guy, the one that wears the plaid all the time. I can't remember.
I think his name's Kevin.
The one that he reminds me of, like a young William Hurt. He kind of has that mumbly kind of talk.
But he's got thick hair like I used to have.
Yeah, it's real curly and thick, but his attitude and inflect is very William Hurt about, well, yeah, I guess you could do that.
You know, I hadn't really thought about that, but yeah, I see what you mean. I think
the cast is priceless. I mean, all of them are just strong. At first, the British girl was getting on, the Irish girl was getting on my freaking nerves. Mm-hmm. But then by the end of the series, I realized why he did that.
Well, her name's Anya, and I like her a lot. The guy you're talking about's name is Kevin. His real name is Igby Rigney. Sorry to laugh, dude, but that's a crazy name.
Igby Rigney. Change that, maybe. Igby.
He must be British or something. That's just strange. But yeah, his name's Kevin. I like the lead. Ilanka, played by Iman Benson. And, and I think that Heather Langenkamp's fine. Langenkamp, however you say her name.
Yeah, she's doing good. Have you met anybody from Hill House yet?
I met the cook from Bly Manor in the last episode I watched, and that was great. Because it turned out to be a science fiction story with like a time travel twist. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
with the whole doomsday scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I loved it. That's the last one I saw, and I was like blown away.
Dude, you got to. Yeah, I can't wait till you get to the end. It's interesting. He's just really good. He's really, really good.
Well, he puts thought into things that, other people don't.
And I love just seeing him online, how he does publicity, how he does his tweets, what he talks about, what he cares about. It's really, really cool.
Interesting. Because I've only been seeing him on that 101 Scariest Moments, because he's a commentator on it. Mm-hmm. And it's all just him praising other people.
Oh yeah, and that's what basically he does online. But he tweets a lot. So does he, and the guy that played the cook in Bly Manor. What's his name?
I don't know his name. He's of like
it's like an Indian descent. He tweets a lot too, and so does the guy who plays the priest in Midnight Mass. And all three of them, obviously, they share each other's tweets. They're always commenting on each other's tweets. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is.
Yeah, he's great.
He's very good. And Robert Longstreet's been in it. He was like an orderly. He's the guy that was in Hill House and Bly Manor, I think, but he was definitely in Hill House.
And you'll see him several more times.
Yeah, and the girl that plays Poppy in Hill House is in it as well.
And the girl that plays the girl we hated in Midnight Mass is in it too.
The one you hated.
I hated her. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Well, I'll quit talking about it, but I'll get through it pretty soon. I've been watching at least one a night. I mean, it like I said, it's appointment TV. The same with Interview with the Vampire.
Yeah.
But
I just saw 2 trailers for that on television here at the hotel.
It's great. God, I'm very impressed. I'm really impressed that they can dive deeper, change the story, and still make it feel the same. And I approve of everything they're doing differently. Like they're really focusing on Daniel, the interviewer, the Eric Bogosian character.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
and it is called Interview with a Vampire, so it makes sense to do that. Because none of the other books are about that, really.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, the reason he's so old, I told you, is that they had done the interview before and they were both younger and he didn't take it seriously. Now he's dying and he's taking things seriously. And there's obviously the potential for an ulterior motive for him,
of course,
with Louis again, because he has Parkinson and he is dying.
Yeah. Do you want to live forever? Yeah.
Right. Well, he hasn't done that yet, but actually in the book, Louis, wouldn't turn him when he was young. He's like, Are you serious? Are you not listening to me? Do you not understand? This is a curse. Right. And I'm
trying to tell you the bad stuff.
Right. But man, their whole life in New Orleans with Claudia, it's great. It's really, really good. So
yeah, that's what this last trailer I've seen like twice this week is on. It keeps. I mean, I guess it's Louis, but Louis has the line about "You made her, you fix her," and then they open up the casket. There's just books in there, and then it cuts, and he's looking at her, and he's going, "Where are the bodies?" I went, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is interesting."
Well, it's before they even dive into her story. Louis doesn't show up for the interview one day. He sends his servant or whoever that guy is. And he basically takes Eric Bogosian to a room where there's all these diaries in a display case. And he says, go from left to right. And he starts reading them. They're all Claudia's diaries. She wrote like a maniac when she was a vampire, just writing in diaries. And that's in the book because they find one of her diaries like in the 3rd book.
Okay.
As a teaser, someone finds it in a wall. It was hidden in New Orleans. But in this, they just say, oh yeah, she wrote all the time. And so you have all this documentation. And Louis just gives him a day to read diaries.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. And they flash back, of course, just to scenes from the diaries. Yeah. I watched the last episode of 101 Scariest Moments last night on Shudder.
Yeah.
And they talk about it being the top 10 because it was the last 10, but I don't think they really mean it being the best because there's some early on that are better, but you want to know what their top 3 were?
Sure.
Number 3 was Hereditary. Number 2 was The Thing. And number 1 was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Really? As scariest movies ever kind of thing?
I think Scariest Moments. I don't know. And I mean, I have to say everything they talk about, just about, I agree with. This series has been phenomenal. There were other ones that were up there.
I would say if you push me, Chainsaw probably is the rawest film I've ever seen. As far as it's just relentless. It never lets up.
Well, they showed that meat hook scene about 3 times.
They never give you he never gives you a break. He never has like a little some people think it's a funny moment when grandpa's trying to bash your head in, but it's not really. It's kind of disgusting. And so I know that there have been movies since then that people have said are worse. Like I've never seen the Serbian film or whatever that thing is.
I haven't either.
Keeps saying
I haven't seen that. Human Centipede one either.
Human Centipede. Yeah. So I've heard that there are ones that are, but Saw is up there as far as it's visceral. It is just visceral. So I could agree with that.
Really. Oh, you're talking about Texas Chainsaw, because I was going to say Saw is in there too. Because there's 101 that they picked.
Yeah. No. I don't. I mean, Saw is what it is. I mean, it's just, to me, it's torture porn. It's like Hostel.
Right. And there's a reason, I guess, for all of these. But when they were talking about Texas Chainsaw, I can't remember who was talking about. They were like, Toby is such a sweet guy, or was such a sweet guy. And they talked about what all he put into this movie. And they mentioned the fact that, it was Joe Bob Briggs that was talking about it. And he said, it's got this, it's got that. He said, but it's also funny. And it's also this. And, he was just listing the things like you were. About the humor in it. But because he did find that scene funny, and the madness at the end, the glimpse, sure, she got away, but she fucked up for life. She's never gonna be the same.
Beyond,
yeah. And then they talk about Rob Bottin and the special effects of the thing too.
Well,
and how they were basically saying this movie is still that movie. It is still that good and that effective. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the makeup effects are brilliant. I think the only other one, and you showed it to me, I'm sure, but the only other one that affected me as bad as Chainsaw has been Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer. That is that's another one of those that just doesn't stop. It's just relentlessly.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's just dark, because he's videotaping a murder and then going home and watching it on television
and jacking off to it or whatever. It's just like, no, I don't need to. No.
But anyway, I'll probably do it as like a genre week topic, and I'll try to get a list of all the movies, and I'll mention some other ones too.
That'd be cool.
But, it was really a good documentary. I'm so into these docuseries, and I guess they must be popular because Shudder keeps doing them. I'm watching that Queer for Fear now, and they talked about what you just talked about in the top 5 that we did. They talked tons about Mary Shelley birthing sci-fi. Yeah,
she did. So, I mean, out of the probably on opium, but she still did.
Yeah,
she and Lord Byron or whoever.
Free Love.
What was the name of that movie that supposedly was that night?
Gothic.
Gothic?
Yeah, Ken Russell.
Was that it?
Yeah.
And it was Mary Shelley, Lord Byron, and
Percy Shelley, her husband, and some other guy. Or some other girl. Okay. No, some other woman, I think. I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember. And who knows what liberties they took. I would have to Google it and read up on it.
Right.
Because it's Russell, it's out there.
3, 2,
1.
Can't start the car. Johnny has the keys.